And at last, the card that brings this all to life. And it leads us to travel and beaches and margaritas, the Premium Travel Rewards card. How do you choose which video you watch? Is it a funny hook?
I happen to be training for a triathlon right now, so doing a lot of running and cycling, swimming. Well, you know all about that.
No, actually, I don't. I play real sports, not trying to be the best at exercising.
Is it videos from trusted sources that talk about different welcome offers available? Or is it ideas that you're looking for some of your videos? Or is it just connecting with somebody and their personality?
Okay, you know what? Give me that thing. I'll do one. We gonna do one. We gonna do one.
That last one is pretty tough. Most of us that cut these finance related videos, we're sitting in a room with four walls staring at a little camera.
No! I did not!
I think for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to change it up a little bit. So let me know your thoughts down below. I could do a video from my car, similar to how Anthony Venture does. Got the palm trees blowing in the wind behind me. Or I could do a video from one of my boys' rooms, since he just has a way cooler setup than I do.
Look at all this floor space.
So
Get your aerobics in here.
Damn, so many Pete the Cat books. But depending on your commitment to this game, your miles may vary. Some of us are constantly chasing welcome offers, but for the sake of this video, let's throw that out the window. And for the average household, all you need is 2 to 4 credit cards. That's it. And leave the damn debit card at home. And those cards should be centered around your top spending categories. So put some analysis in. Where do you spend the most money? And it's also a damn good look in the mirror. 20 grand on Amazon? What the hell? This may be obvious to some, but not to others. You know who you are. Now, there's a lot of different ways that we could take this course setup, but I'm going to assume that you're looking to travel at least once or a handful of times per year. There's no perfect way to do this, but I'm going to show you just through spending and your normal spending habits, how you could take a trip for two to Cancun with your spouse or significant other, considering that I just did this with a family of 4, flights and hotels for 4 nights at an all-inclusive for just over 200,000 points. And here's the core cards that are going to get us there. Oh, this has me hungry. So speaking of food, we all eat. And this is probably the top spending category for most of us here, aside from business travelers that spend a lot in flights and hotels. And a good rule of thumb here is have a card that earns at least 3x, primarily on grocery shopping, but also for restaurants. And most cards have a good combination of the two. Hate it or love it, I use the Amex Gold every single month, and I absolutely love that card. Now, I'll reserve most of my comments for the haters for another time or another video. Certainly comment down below if you have any sort of love-hate relationship with this card. Now, with the food category, we have 2 maniac boys at home that are growing like crazy. Plus, my wife and I try to eat pretty healthy, and I have an affinity for steaks, so not sure that falls in the health category. But between all of that, food is where we spend a ton of money, sometimes north of 2 grand a month on our grocery bill alone. Now, I just looked through some of my statements and I was looking at up until July, and I'd earned 25,000 membership rewards points on my restaurant category and 28,000 on groceries with my Amex Gold. So if we do the math here, that's 6,250 in spending on the restaurant category and north of 7,000 that I've spent on groceries alone on this card. So if we do the math on that, that's going to be north of 7,500 membership rewards points per month, give or take, that I'm earning just on this one specific card. Now, I also use a few other cards, and I have a few Chase cards, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and a Freedom Flex card that I use for some of my grocery spending, the Sapphire Preferred. Once or twice a month, I'll use it for online groceries, do pick up in store, and get that credit from the Instacart credit that you get. And with the Freedom Flex, the rotating quarterly categories, the first quarter of this year, I maxed that out, the 1,500 in spend to get 5x on that card. But these rotating quarterly cards are just a headache to me. Not sure how you feel about those, but for the everyday consumer, go with a card that earns 3x or 4x on the grocery and restaurant category. So my advice would be one of 2 cards, either the American Express Gold card, if you're confident in the annual fee and the credits that you can use to get max value out of this card, which to me is the best food earning card on the market, or the no annual fee Capital One Saver One, a great card and a great alternative, no annual fee, 3x at dining and at grocery stores. And if you're still watching, you may be in the market for one of these cards. Shameless plug here. Make sure you're using a friend or a family member's referral link if you're trying to sign up for one of these cards to do somebody else a favor. If you want to use one of mine, I'm just saying, I do have Amex Gold referral link. I don't have the Saver One referral link. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. just hit me a thumbs up and let's move on. A thought on the big box or wholesale club space. If you do spend a lot at Target or Costco or even Amazon, you may want to consider one of the co-branded credit cards. Some of us are a little deeper in the game and we like to point stack and buy gift cards and things like that. And this one is a bit subjective since those store-branded credit cards are for cashback only. This next card, it's like a utility player. You can plug it in just about anywhere and it's going to bring you value. And speaking of utilities, use this card to pay your utility bill. We use the Capital One Venture X to pay our utilities, and I earn just over 12,000 points a year. But don't get me started on what our utility bill costs. At a minimum, this should be a card that earns 1.5x everywhere and be in the form of travel rewards, points, or miles. American Express, Capital One, and Citi all have a 2x card, whereas Chase has a few 1.5x cards, the Freedom Unlimited on the personal side and the Ink Unlimited on the business side. Also note that the American Express Blue Business Plus is the 2x card for Amex, and that's also a business card. I use the Capital One Venture X as my catch-all card, which I would highly recommend. It earns 2x everywhere, aside from some elevated earning within the Capital One travel portal. It's accepted worldwide, has great purchase and trip protections and benefits. And when you combine it with Capital One offers or the Capital One shopping portal, you're going to get some elevated earning within categories like retail, entertainment, gym memberships, and more. If used correctly, one of these catch-all cards can net you 40 to 50,000 points per year or more, depending on your strategy and how much you spend. With a lot of the categories I just mentioned, make sure you understand if the vendor charges a convenience or transaction fee and what that percentage is. Typically, it's close to or just below 2%, which I'm totally fine with using a card like the Venture X, since I know I'm going to get outsized value when I transfer those points out to the transfer partners. But honestly, this is a time when I'm typically chasing a new card's welcome offer, since you get outsized value that way when you're getting north of $1,000 in value in one fell swoop, hitting that minimum spend requirement. But I said for the sake of this video that I was throwing that out the window, which I probably should get that card in just a second. If there is a time of the year when you're looking to add a new card to the setup, this would be it. And at last, the card that brings this all to life. And it leads us to travel and beaches and margaritas. The Premium Travel Rewards card. Typically, this card doesn't earn well, but it has a key strength or two, and it unlocks all of the travel experiences. Think airport lounge access, food or travel credits and benefits, purchase and trip protections, and even hotel status. And it unlocks transfer partners. Aside from Amex, where you don't need any of the specific travel cards, you just need a membership rewards earning card. Now, I'm not a fan of the cards that force you to use their travel portal to get any elevated earning in the travel category. But if we're thinking about this whole concept today, if this is all about redeeming rewards points for travel redemptions, you're not necessarily going to be using any sort of travel portal. So in that case, the Capital One Venture X or the Chase Sapphire Preferred would be ideal. Now, you don't get any lounge access with the Sapphire Preferred, but it is a good entry-level travel card. It is a decent earner in the food category and the everyday travel category, and it unlocks Chase's transfer partners, and we all know what that means, Hyatt. So my pick here would be the Capital One Venture X. That one comes with a $395 annual fee, but a nice $300 travel credit that's pretty flexible, easy to use in their travel portal. You can apply it towards a flight or a hotel booked in the Capital One portal, which does have very competitive rates and is a really easy to use portal. And Capital One has a small but mighty lounge network that is growing. They're in 3 airports right now: Dallas, Washington, Dulles, and Denver. But there are quite a few airports that are about to open a Capital One lounge here. I would say within the next 12 months, don't hold me to it. And when you're watching this video, some of those other lounges may be open. You also get access to Priority Pass and Plaza Premium. My feelings towards Priority Pass have gotten a little bit better over the last 6 months or so. And I just visited the Plaza Premium Lounge in Terminal 4 of Cancun's airport, which was really nice. Probably one of the nicer lounges that I visited outside of the Capital One or Chase lounges. And if you know Cancun's airport, it is a complete madhouse. So this was a nice step away from the chaos. I absolutely love these Capital One lounges. I've done quite a few videos talking about these lounges. I visited them north of 12 times so far here in 2024. And the fact that this is a 2x catch-all superpower card makes this even more of a beneficial card because it can reduce the overall cards that you need in your setup. That being said, I'm all about diversity. And these banks do have some overlap with their transfer partners. For example, both American Express and Capital One do transfer out to Virgin. But note, Capital One has really poor hotel transfer partners. So for me, I'm all about the American Express Gold Card. This gets you covered in your top spending category, all things food related, both in the US and abroad for restaurants, with some exceptions. I just got back from a trip to the UK and Amsterdam, and Amex is accepted in both of those locations, but there's a lot of places in Europe and just overall abroad where American Express is not accepted. So you want to have a Visa or a MasterCard to use as a backup. If you don't want the annual fee and you don't want the hassle of American Express, go with the Capital One Saver One, and that gets you covered, no annual fee and no transaction fees. For the catch-all card, regardless of the food card that you pick, I would recommend the Capital One Venture X. This gets you covered 2x on everything you're buying, no foreign transaction fees, whereas a card like the Chase Freedom Unlimited does have foreign transaction fees. If you do want a Chase card here, the Sapphire Preferred will get you 3x on dining, 2x on most of your travel like subways or water taxis. These two cards, the Venture X and the Sapphire Preferred, were the two that we used predominantly on our recent trip to Europe. I know both of these cards that I just mentioned are also travel core cards, but they do have some diversity and can be used on a lot of your everyday expenses. So that's why I recommended both of those. Plus, it removes the need to have another card in your wallet if you are to use these cards as both the catch-all card in a lot of instances and as your core travel card. That way, you get access to both Chase and Capital One's transfer partners. And if you leverage Chase offers and Capital One offers, you're going to earn north of 2 or 3x in just about all spending categories, specifically with retail and everyday expenses by leveraging those specific offers. Comment down below if you have any questions on that. So if you aren't into Capital One or it's too difficult to get some of their cards for one reason or another, and the $325 annual fee with the Amex Gold is too much when pairing that with other travel cards, you may want to consider going with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which, yes, has a larger annual fee, $550, but comes with a very easy-to-use $300 travel credit. That way you still get all the trip protections and insurances, the airport lounge access, some elevated earning in some specific categories like dining and all of your travel-related expenses. And you could pair that with the Chase Freedom Unlimited and possibly the Chase Freedom Flex with the old-school Chase Trifecta, and throw everything else that I've talked about in this video out the window. Either way, if you're putting $60,000 in credit card spend annually, and let's say $25,000 of that is food related, at 3x, that's 75,000 points. At 4x, that's 100,000 points. If we're able to earn 2x on all other spending at 35,000 in spending, that's another 70,000 points. So in combination, that's going to more than cover you for 4 nights at an all-inclusive like the Hyatt Dreams Playa Mujeres. There are plenty of all-inclusives that are less than 39,000 points per night, which is the beauty that these transfer partners can help you unlock. And that's not even factoring in welcome offers or any of the travel credits and benefits that come along with some of these cards that I mentioned. I'm exhausted. I'm sure you are too. Spend wisely, and until next time, cheers.